What is up, voice community? It's Charles, your host for today's podcast. And one of the things that I really like about being able to host this podcast is not just learning from individuals, but also creating that platform for upcoming entrepreneurs and people that are trying to brand themselves that really have a moving and powerful story that I get to invite and share their story for anybody who is maybe in the process or maybe who can relate or maybe learn from. So, for this episode, I actually realized that there's been a few business owners out here where I'm currently at, where I'm doing the podcast, and I had the chance to meet this young lady, and she has a business. And I was always curious, like, okay, what does this girl do? Because, like, if you've ever been in my studio, you'll hear a bunch of like drumming noises and just a bunch of instrumental artists that are just doing drums. And so it's pretty interesting to meet other business owners out here that are also doing their own thing. So this person is a 19-year-old hustler. She pretty much has never had a 9-to-5 job. Started the business when she was 15, then got pregnant. She started working within her house at first. She has a nail tech business, and eventually she was able to get her own office back in March of 2021, and she was even proclaimed as the top. She was awarded the most booked on Booksy, and she has had 4 awards under her belt. So really interesting. She comes with a background of entrepreneur, so we're gonna get to learn about her. So she goes by Shammy. She has a nail tech business here in Oxnard, California. So I hope you guys enjoy her story. Hey, what is up, guys? We're back on the show. Shammy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, and yourself?
Good. So, well, it's an honor to have you in here. I'm glad that you had the time. I know you're coming back from LA.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as we mentioned, right, you've been in business since you were 16?
15.
15.
Yeah,
Holy
since
crap.
2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's pretty bold. A lot of people don't start business that early. Like, I was always in the business mindset when I got out of high school, but even then I didn't like start a business like how you did, right? So for all of us listening, talk to us a little about your background and how you got started with business.
Well, got started back in 2018, but the idea came about maybe in 2017, 2016. It really honestly just started because my brother, which I've mentioned before, he's a barber, and he started cutting hair when he was really, really young.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just see him bring in a lot of money. And obviously, as a kid, you're like, oh, wow, I want to be like my older sibling. Usually,
Nice.
our older siblings are our mentors. And I always would just think of ways to make money. All of my family members, they're all hustlers. So growing up, that was always something that I saw. And growing up, I was like, okay, I need to find a way to make money. And I know I'm young, so I knew working a fast food job, it wasn't going to make the
Nice.
amount that I wanted. And my parents kind of always told me, a job is a job. It doesn't matter. Do it. But I was like, no, if my brother can do it, I can do it. So I would always try to figure out things to do. One day I went to the nail salon. I got my nails done. They weren't the way I wanted them. So my older brother was like, oh, I have an idea. Like, why don't you just do your own nails? Since you're always complaining that they're not doing them how you want them to, just do it yourself. And obviously at first I was like, oh, that's scary. I don't know. What if I do them worse? What if I suck at it? But I was like, you know what, whatever, I'll just do it. He took me and my sister to Walgreens. I remember.
Okay.
He took us to Walgreens. We got a little acrylic set. At the time, I think they were like $20. And we stayed up all night doing our nails.
Really?
And my mom was like, oh my God, it smells disgusting. I'm sure you've smelled the monomer before in here. Yeah, it's really strong.
Actually, for anybody who has come in here, whether you're one of my client or a guest, if you're smelling some strong acrylic, that is from her doing her magic.
It's me. So I did it, and I was like, oh, okay, they came out okay. They're not that bad. But obviously, if you have better products, they'll come out better. So I was like, oh, maybe if I can convince my brother to buy me more stuff, I could get better at it.
Interesting.
And yeah, he did. He was very supportive. My sister, she tried doing it for a while too. She knows how to do nails as well. Yeah, and that's honestly how I got started. I kept doing it. I realized I was really good at it. And slowly but surely I started getting clients. And yeah, word of mouth. If your work is good and you have a good personality, people will come to you. It doesn't matter how old you are. They'll come to you. So yeah, how I got started
Okay.
essentially in
Cool. So
2018.
at what point did you realize that this was something that you could build a business of? Was it because like the reoccurring clients, or was it the passion, or a little bit of both, or?
When I was getting fully booked,
Mm.
when it got to the point where I never went to regular high school just because I knew I wanted to be my own boss.
Okay.
That's what I always wanted to do.
That's cool.
So I did two different independent study schools, and it got to the point where I talked to one of my teachers, and I told him, "Look, I'm working. I don't have time to come to
Oh,
school."
you said that.
Yeah, he's a cool teacher. I don't want to say his name though, but he's
Okay.
a really cool teacher.
Wow.
And I told him I could come once a month, drop off my packets, pick up more packets, but I can't come every week the way that we're required to. And he already knew who I was, and he knew what I was about, and he was like, "Okay, yeah, that's fine. As long as you're getting your credits in, I don't see
Right.
the problem." So that's when I knew I was going to take it seriously, because I was getting booked from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Wow.
So I was just like, I'm tired, but I'm getting it done. One, and two, I like what I'm doing. I'm creating a lot of different relationships with my clients.
For sure.
And I was making more than like a teenager working like a 9 to 5 part time or full time.
Gotcha.
So I was like, okay, like this is something I could
So
actually
you knew
take
that
serious.
someone, instead of working at the time, maybe for your end, probably the only job you guys can do is something like McDonald's or something, right?
Yeah, actually, in 2018, right before I started doing nails, my husband now, but at the time, obviously my
Mm-hmm.
boyfriend, I had applied at Little Caesars and KFC. I remember I went and
Really?
yes, I went and I did the interview. I was like 15.
Okay.
I think I was 14 turning 15. I had gone, I did the interviews, I got the jobs. I had gone to two part-time jobs, so it would sum up to one full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And the day that I was supposed to go to KFC, that was my first day. I didn't show up.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't show up. My boyfriend was like, "Why do you want to work? Like, I don't get it. Why do you want to work?" Because he's a barber as well.
Okay. Okay.
So he was like, "Why do you want to work a regular job?" And I was like, "I don't know. I need the money. I'm turning 15. In my family, you start working really, really young."
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, "Well, what do you need to pay?" And I was like, "I don't know. My phone bill. I don't know if I want to buy something." He was like, "Don't worry. Like, I'll pay whatever needs to get paid. I just don't want you to get a job, because if you
That's
get
a
a
solid
job,"
boyfriend.
yeah, he was like,
Mm.
you're
Or
gonna,
husband now, right?
yeah, he's like, "You're gonna get distracted by the money,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's, I don't know how much you make in fast food, but the little amount of money, you're gonna get used to it, and you're not gonna grow out of it. It's gonna be really, really hard for you to get out of that mindset." So I was like, okay, that's scary, because I had two jobs. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
as a 15-year-old, I was like, wow, two jobs, like that's good. I could make good income from this.
Right. Right. Right.
But I was like, no, I'm just gonna listen to him, because he's been cutting hair since he was little.
Mm.
And I always thought to myself, if my brother and him could do it, my husband, well, my boyfriend at the time, if they could do it, I could do it.
Right. Right. And what did your brother do? Just so we have a better
he's
context.
he's a barber.
Mm-hmm.
He's a barber as well.
Okay.
He's been cutting hair since he was really young. I think like 14 or something.
Gotcha.
He started in a shed in our backyard.
Okay.
It was cold in there. And then he moved to the garage, and then he met my father-in-law, and my father-in-law had opened up SoCal Barbershop, so then he
Okay.
started working there.
Nice.
But yeah, he was a barber, and now he's training to be a pro boxer basically.
Okay.
But yeah,
I think
he
I might have
was,
seen him around.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I know. I had a podcast guest here, Mike.
Okay, yeah, Mike.
Yeah, I think he's friends with them. So that's really cool. And shout out to all the 805 hustlers out there. Like starting young from wherever you're at. Like that's the thing I admire about this city. Like when I meet people like you,
Hmm.
you guys start wherever you can, regardless of what situation it's about. And I think that's where people don't see when it comes down to entrepreneurship, and building your business, is that there's a grit behind it that people over glamorize once you've made it or have that certain aspect of success.
Yeah, most people don't see the late nights, the nights where you feel like pulling your hair out, you're crying, you're tired.
Right.
Because obviously on social media, we just see
The glamour.
yeah, like how much I make in a
Mm-hmm.
day. I'm my own boss. I make my own schedules, but you don't realize that making your own schedule, sometimes you have to miss important family events. You
Mm.
have to sacrifice certain things. But I mean, yeah, I would say it's worth it, but you have to be mentally very strong to be an entrepreneur, which I'm sure you've realized that since
For sure.
How long has it been since you quit your job?
Uh, it's we're on day 77, 77 days so
Oh,
far.
okay.
But I've been at the business for about 2 years and 8 months now, right? So
And
I
I'm
was working
sure
at part
even
time.
you're like, oh wow,
Yeah,
this
because
is a
you're I
lot.
think you're the second person I've had on a podcast that had been able to start their business, and she's a girl too. Just so you know,
Oh,
lady,
okay.
right? And actually she started in this little shop too, which is freaking crazy. But I think it's just really cool that you guys were able to lean on something that you guys already had interest in, and I don't think she had mentors, which was a different story. But for you guys, you had the opportunity to be encouraged by someone who was making enough money, right? And you saw the possibilities. Now, when you were seeing your brother make the money, what was it that you saw from him that made you see that, hey, maybe I can do something like that? Was it the money, the freedom? Was it the confidence? What was it behind them that made you see, hey, maybe there is something that could really push me towards that direction as well? Oops.
I think all of the above.
Mm.
Obviously, we would go out to. I remember for Black Friday, we would go out to the outlets, and we never had to wait in the line.
Oh.
Yeah, all his friends worked at the outlets. They're like, "Oh,
Mm.
your family could come in. You guys could come in." And I was like, "I like that." We'd go out to eat. He's like, "Oh, my client works here. Hold on, like he'll get us a table right away." And I'd be like, "Oh, I like that." And a lot of his friends, his clients, excuse me, became his friends, and I was like, "Oh, this isn't just a job. This is actually a career." And I think
Hmm.
I'm not sure about other cultures, but at least in my culture, Latin culture, sometimes your family can be a little bit discouraging. That's not the case with my family. My
Mm-hmm.
parents are very, very supportive.
Nice.
But I have heard stories of other females and males that their parents are like, I don't know if that's such a good
Oh,
idea.
100%. Like my
Because,
parents were completely towards a traditional nine to
yes,
five.
a
Get to
traditional, you go
yeah.
to college, you do things the right way. So I think
What part of Mexico were your family from?
we're from Zacatecas.
Zacatecas.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're from
Were you
Zacatecas.
born there or here?
I actually was born there.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I
When did
actually
you move
was born
here?
there. I moved here, I think I was a baby. I was little, maybe like 2.
2 or 3? Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, gotcha.
That's actually one of the reasons why I actually went into being my own
Mm.
boss, because your opportunities are very limited being an immigrant, because I mean I
Mm.
am considered an immigrant as
Interesting.
well as my parents. But it was funny because my sister was actually born here, but my mom, she didn't know she was pregnant with me because me and my sister are like a year apart.
For sure.
So she traveled out there and she had me out there on accident, and yeah, they ended up
Interesting.
bringing me over
So
here.
so let's tap back into that. I think that's such a moving story to discuss. Your parents, did they speak English?
No, now my dad does. My
Right,
mom,
right. But the time, right?
no.
So considering that as far as this end, and even for me, like my parents spoke limited English as well.
Right.
So like the opportunities were significantly less, especially if you don't have the articulation or the knowledge in to speak the same language as everybody else in here.
Right. I think
So
that's one of the biggest barriers.
mm-hmm. So I think it's really cool that you saw that as an opportunity for yourself as well, because you understood that living here in U.S. makes you a minority, and you not that it should victimize you, but
Not at
instead
all.
use it as an opportunity and say, hey, you know what? Let me use this also as a motivator to develop myself and my business. Right now, when you started getting booked, I'm just curious, what was your parents' impression or reaction from that? Like, where did they like talk us through how that progressed over time?
I think my parents, they were obviously very proud of me, but they were very shocked.
Mm.
I don't think they
Were you making
thought.
more than them?
I think so. I think so, yeah. I think they were really shocked, as in, they were probably like, wow, her sister was born here and they had the same opportunities. They both started the same way. And my sister took more of a traditional route.
Mm-hmm.
She's in school to be a nurse. But
And there is absolutely nothing wrong
no,
with that.
yeah, like go to school. We need nurses, we need
Yeah.
doctors, we need lawyers, we need all of that.
Whatever it is you're pursuing.
Yeah, entrepreneurship is not for everyone, and that's okay. But my parents, they were really shocked because obviously my opportunities were very limited, and they thought, obviously you hear immigrant, you hear like field worker or fast food worker. You
For
don't
sure.
think,
Blue color.
right, you don't think someone that started their own business from nothing and is making, at least for my age, I'm only 19. The amount of money that I make, it's surprising to some people, especially because of the position that I was put in.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my parents were very shocked, and to an extent they would tell me, don't overwork yourself, don't overdo it.
So everybody tells me now.
Yeah, like just take it slow. It's okay, like you're gonna get there. But I could tell they were very shocked at first. And now it's just normal to them. They're like, oh, you're working? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, you're working late? I'm like, yeah, I'm working late. They're like, okay, cool. And they still do tell me, like, don't work too much, like you're gonna overwork yourself. And obviously now he's about to be 3. I have a 3-year-old son.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that too. My parents, I think when I told them that I was pregnant, they were obviously upset because I was 16 when I told them I was pregnant. But I think in the back of their mind, they were like, okay, at least she can take care of him.
Right.
Like financially.
For sure.
Yeah, and I told my parents, like, this is a situation, this is happening. You guys can be mad about it, you guys can be sad about it, but this is happening. Like, the baby's coming. And I told them, I promise you guys, I will never, ever, ever put my son as your guys' financial responsibility. And I think they believed me, so they weren't too upset about it.
So you said this when you were 16 years old?
Yeah, because I mean,
wow.
I knew I
Hey.
could afford a baby, and I told my parents were like, well, what about the dad? Like, you guys aren't married. And I told them, with or without his dad, I know I can lo puedo sacar adelante, meaning I can handle it. I can take care of him financially. Maybe physically I won't be there all the time, but I know I can manage. And I told them, you guys don't have to worry about me or him, but I know you guys are going to be a little mad, so I'll talk to you guys later.
That's interesting. I think it's just so interesting how it feels like your mind was so developed at a young age.
Yeah, definitely. And that just goes back to mentorship, who you keep around you. Obviously, if you have a bunch of friends, all they do is, not saying that drinking and partying is bad, live your life, that's fine.
No, it's totally bad.
I mean, I think it's fine. Like, it's fine, but if you think about it, how many of those friends are really pushing you to start that new program, take that course, start that business, whatever? Like, how many of those friends are really helping you? So I think the reason why I'm so mature for my age is because the people that I kept around me, which was not a lot, is really just my brother, my husband, my sister, my parents, and that's honestly really it.
And who do you feel has had the most impact in your journey to helping you develop yourself personally and in the business?
For sure my brother. My husband would have to be second because he's the one that financially helped me a lot. He's the one that would buy me a lot of my stuff, and he still does to this day. He's the one that's remodeling my office for me.
That's super cool.
But my
you
brother,
said your brother, right?
yeah, that was my husband. He's more of the financial. Like, if I tell him, like, oh, I want this for my nail studio, he'll get it for me. If I tell him I want it to be pink, he'll do it. But I would say that he's second, but definitely my brother. He's the one that gave me the confidence, and with him, it's not just him telling me, like, you got this, you can do it. He's like, you got this, you can do it. I did it. Like, I believe in you. If I can do it, you can do it. Don't worry about it. So it's different when you hear someone say, you got this, you can do it, and you hear that from someone who's actually done it and is doing it. It's very different. So he was definitely a big, big part of the process. And even to this day, whenever I have a question, I tell him, like, do you think this is a good idea? Do you think I should do this? He's the one that I go to, and he's the one that always tells me, yeah, you should do it. Like, when you had a teaching, I remember you had an event.
Yes.
And I was going to make it, and I couldn't make it. And I told my brother, I was like, oh, I'm nervous. Like, I'm super young. Like, I kind of figured everyone that would be there would be super, like, not old, but a lot older than me.
Oh, yeah. Business owners are, typically start business a little later.
Like, usually I've seen, like, 23, 25 and up. So I was telling him, like, I'm nervous. I don't know if I should go. And he's like, why are you nervous? And I'm like, because I'm 19 and everyone's going to be, like, over 23. And he was like, so who cares? Like, age is nothing but a number. And he would always tell me that age is nothing but a number. You got it. He's like, you can learn something from them, and they can learn something from you. So don't sell yourself short.
Oh, 100%. If any people out there feel that they only have to give to other people, I think they've already lost.
Yeah, no,
Not
of course.
lost, but more so I think they're cutting themselves off. Because even then, for me, yeah, I know more shit than my little brother. He
Yeah.
makes money from brands because he has a platform for, you know, over a million on TikTok and stuff like that, right? But even then, like, I teach him shit, but like there's so much things I can learn from him too,
Mhm.
you know. But that's pretty cool that your brother has had that role for you as well, you know. And I think that's that what you mentioned before is having the right influence to help support you is definitely what's gonna elevate your game to the next level. And honestly, if you I feel the same. Like, I'm very selective with who I'm around with, hence why I do this podcast. Hence, I only hang out with a certain amount of people,
Right.
certain amount of times, because I know that the energy I feed off of.
Right. It's all about energy.
Right.
Yeah.
Energy is big for me. Like, if your energy, like, for me, it's very natural for me to just push away from people who have a low frequency. And not to say that, like, oh, I don't want to be around them, like, you know, disgusted of them, but more so I want to push them, but if they don't want to be pushed, like, I let them be where they're at.
Right. And I mean, if their energy's off, you can feel it.
Mhm.
You will be like, oh, like I'm tired
Yeah.
today. Physically, you will physically feel it. You're like, oh, I'm tired. Like I want to take a nap. Versus someone whose energy is super high, you're
Mhm.
feeding off of it. So you're like, okay, yeah, I'm excited. Let's go hiking. Let's go to the gym. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. So energy is very, very important. I don't think a lot of people
Yeah.
realize it.
No, no, especially if you're in business, like, I think some people get into business by accident, right? For me, I've always wanted to get into business once I realized that there's more potential than just be doing a 9 to 5. When I first started, I was coming out of high school, someone introduced to me the idea that you can make passive income. And I started reading the book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, which,
Okay.
you know, helped transition my mindset into different directions in life, you know. But from then on, I become selective with who I hung out with, you know. Like, do you do any personal development? I mean, I noticed when you first came in here, when you checked out the room, you mentioned the first thing you mentioned was one of my books,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I like to read. I was definitely a lot more into it maybe 2020 because 2020 was a really hard year for me
Oh,
towards
okay.
the end. So I felt very lost. I felt like I needed something. I don't know what I was looking for, but I
Mhm.
was looking for something. And my
And
brother,
this was COVID.
yes, but it
Okay.
wasn't because of
It wasn't because of
COVID.
COVID.
No, it was, well, that had something to do with it, of
Okay.
course. I feel
For
like that
sure.
affected everyone, but I had a lot more personal things going on. And yeah, I mean, I remember I cried to my brother, and he was like, "You're gonna be fine. Like, this is fine. Like, a lot of girls go through this. Like, you'll be okay." But he told me, like, this is the time whether you're either gonna go up or you're gonna go down. You're either
Mhm.
gonna find yourself or you're gonna lose yourself even more. So you decide. And I remember my brother has a little, kind of like you, he has a little library in his room.
I have a big one at home.
Yeah. And he would just, here you go, read this, read this, read
That's
this.
dope.
And my brother says, he says, which I've noticed now, I realize, he says that I'm an empath, so that I always like, let's say someone around me sad, I'm sad. So I remember one year for Christmas, he gifted me the book, and I thought at first I thought it was kind of rude. I was like,
What was it
wow,
called?
I have to look for it. I'll send you a picture,
Okay.
but it's about how to not be an empath, basically, like learning your way out of being accustomed to being that way.
Mm.
And I mean, I was like, wow, that's kind of rude. I didn't know that's how I was. And he was
That's funny.
like, no, it's not to be rude. It's just, my brother's very straightforward. He was like,
Mm.
I feel like you're an empath and you feel whatever anyone else is feeling.
Very influenced.
Yeah, yeah, basically. And I was like, wow. And he's like, that's why you only keep a certain amount of people around you. Because if you keep a lot of people around you, you're gonna be kind of overstimulated. Like, you're
Mm.
gonna have too many feelings. And I mean, it's true whenever a family member or even a client, like if I have a client come in and they're crying,
Oh my
I feel
gosh.
sad.
We're gonna dive into that.
I'm
Okay.
like, oh, it makes me sad. And then I start talking about my problems. I'm like, don't worry, girl. Like, I'm going through this. Like, it's fine. And my brother's like, no, that's not good though, because then you start just going into a lower frequency and it's not good
Mm.
for you. So he gave me the book and I read it, and I definitely have to reread it because it helped, but I'm still an empath. I can still feel it.
Yeah. That's an interesting direction to talk about, especially when you're working on a client to client basis, because
Yeah.
there a lot of them are going through stuff, and that's why they need your service as well, right? Because it helps them make them feel better,
Yeah,
especially the whole self-care part, right?
of course. And a lot of my clients, they tell me, they're like, "Oh my God, you're like my therapist." I'm like, you would not believe
That'll
that.
be extra.
Yeah, right? You would not believe the things that I hear. I've had clients come in and it's their first appointment and they're crying.
Oh my
And I'm
gosh.
just like, oh my God. But I'm very good at just comforting.
Mm.
So, I mean, I've had a lot of,
You probably create an open space as well.
yeah, of course. And I'm pretty open. I mean, I'm like, girl, it's okay. Like, we've all been through
Mm-hmm.
that. It's okay. I try to make them feel better. And sometimes I think about it, I'm like, damn, that's kind of sad though, because you feel like you don't have anyone in your personal life to talk to.
Right.
Or I don't know, you feel like you're gonna be judged or whatever the case is. So you come and you tell me, which I don't mind it at all. Like, you're my client, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely, I feel like after a long day of my clients, especially if they're going through something, especially if it's multiple clients, I feel like my energy battery's out. I go home
Oh, I bet.
and I don't want to talk to anyone. I want to
Yeah, yeah,
go
yeah.
take a shower and eat and go to
Cleanse
sleep.
yourself out of that, right?
Yeah, they're honestly, a lot of people are, they eat your energy, like they take your energy from you.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's a bad thing, obviously, when it comes to servicing people. That's always going to be something.
Mm-hmm.
You're always gonna have to hear the gossip, the problems, the drama. That's always gonna come with the job. But I try to just be like, no, you're gonna be fine. Like, I try to switch off to another topic, like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
how's work? How
For
are the
sure.
kids? How's your boyfriend? How's your family doing? Try to switch off of that, because I mean, if you're sad the whole time, I'm gonna get sad, and I don't want to be
Yeah.
sad while I'm doing your nails.
I think it would be interesting because I've heard this many times in the beauty industry where it can be draining, right? And so for you, you mentioned that once you've taken on too much of that, you just close off from everybody, or how do you go about it on a day-to-day basis?
Definitely, I think if I've had a long day of clients, if they're all happy, because my mood goes off of their mood. If they're all happy, I go home and I'm like, okay, like I'm in a good mood. But if I've heard like, um, my boyfriend's cheating on me, like my family's gonna get evicted, I don't know, whatever the story is. At the end of the day, if I've had a lot of that in one day, I just feel like tired. I just want to go home, shower, eat, and go to sleep, and that's it. Like, I don't want to talk to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my energy, my battery's just done. It's low. And I have a
Right.
son, so it's kind of hard because
For
he's
sure.
jumping around. He wants to play with
Right.
mom. He wants to eat. He wants to watch a movie, whatever the case is. But that's definitely something that I'm still working on.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to remain positive. I mean, recently I became a little bit more religious. So
Okay.
with my clients, I tell them, like, girl, I can't fix your problems. I can only hear you out. Like, and really, the only person who can, in my opinion, help you out a lot is God. So obviously, you can't tell everybody that.
Yeah,
'Cause
for
some
sure.
people
Some
are,
people are agnostic or different
yeah,
beliefs.
whatever the case is. But I try to, if I feel like the energy, like, oh, they might be open to it, I'll tell them, like, maybe you should go to church and just. I've gone to church and I've cried at church. So I'm like, maybe you need it. Maybe you need something new. Maybe you need to try something new.
Interesting.
But yeah, in the beauty industry, I definitely think your clients feed off of you.
I agree. I agree. Well, that's good that you have some way of balancing it out. Because like honestly, I think the biggest one question I always ask a lot of people is that most people would have decided to quit. If they decided that something just wasn't, and it may not just be the money too, right? Sometimes the money, yeah, sure, they're getting fed, but like, is it worth the time? But for you on your end, you kept going for the last 3 years now, right?
No,
4,
I think it's gonna be 5.
5.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be 20 this year?
Yeah, I'm gonna be 20 this year.
Oh shit!
In next month, actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh damn. Okay,
Yeah.
you're an April baby.
Yeah.
Okay, Taurus.
No, Aries.
Hey, sorry. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Sorry, I'm a
Sounds-
fire sign.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. Not that I know anything about the whole horoscopes things, but so what made you decide to keep going on your business instead of just going to a different other route? Like, do you think there's certain things that kept you in the game, or or was it just because things kept you in aligned in there?
It definitely, of course, the money has something to do
For
with
sure,
it.
absolutely.
Because I'm like, damn, to match this income that I'm making, it would be kind of hard to find something and start from
Mhm.
scratch. But obviously, a motivating factor was my son.
Mm.
It wasn't just one mouth to feed, it was two at this point.
Right.
But I think just knowing my potential, I knew I could do more with it.
Mm.
I just wasn't exactly sure how I could do it, but I knew that it was possible. So I just told myself, just keep going. You know, I'm into Nipsey. I like, keep
Yes.
going. It's a marathon. You
Something like
got
that.
this. Life isn't a sprint. There's going to be ups and downs, but you got this. Just keep going. Just keep going. And I remember I read somewhere, what if it turns out better than you could have ever
Love that.
expected? And I always think that I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
whenever I'm scared, because I do get scared sometimes, I'm like,
Oh, we all get scared.
yeah, but I'm like, just keep going. Like, if you fail, you fail. It's a learning process.
Right.
But if you can do it, you can do it. Like, look at where you're at now versus
Mm-hmm.
compared to how you were. And I think about it. What if I would have taken that Little Caesars KFC job?
Mm.
Where would I be at now?
Probably divested from your business. You wouldn't have been.
I don't think
Yeah.
I would have started.
Mm.
I probably think I'd be a waiter right now, to be honest
Gotcha,
with you.
gotcha. Yeah, that would make sense too. Because I think like going back into it, right? When you start to do the little things, it feeds off of it. But like, for me, when I quit my job, the reason what one of the reason for quitting was to be more invested in my business and double down on everything I had with everything, everything I have to lose, basically.
Yeah.
You know, but I believe that if you have a secondary plan, it's kind of hard to double down on other things until you secure it, because it creates that little bit of fragments of focus on other things,
Right.
right? So I want to pivot back into your motherhood, right? When you were 16, you said that you knew instinctively that you had enough finance to be able to support yourself and your kid,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, because when I was 16, I'd work like 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. There's times where I don't know why my parents allowed me to do this, but I had one client who she would come in at 11, 12, and I would get done with her nails at 2 a.m. Excuse me.
Excuse me?
And my parents would be like, "Oh, that's fine. Um, like you're at home, you're not
Mm-hmm.
out.
Oh,
Like
okay,
that's
okay.
fine." And I used to work out of my parents' living room.
Mm-hmm.
So we would be downstairs like at midnight, and I would be doing her nails, and she'd be out of my house by like 2 a.m.
Mm.
But and now she's a nail tech actually.
Oh,
Which is
okay.
funny, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
Interesting.
going back to that, on the times that I did, the little bit of free time that I had, I would just spend all the money I could.
Mm-hmm.
I go out to eat. I would go out to amusement parks. I had the time of my life, so I was like,
Good
if
for
I can
you.
do that, I can afford a baby. I just need to
Mm.
prioritize,
Gotcha,
obviously,
gotcha,
the
gotcha.
baby's needs over going out and eating
sure.
every single day and
For sure.
doing just wasting
Oh,
money.
luckily you weren't 21 yet.
No, honestly, I thankfully,
Because if you were, it would have been a whole. Maybe you wouldn't have been as focused with your business. You know, because some people, I feel like everybody, you know, when they start their business, when they start getting known, they don't prioritize the new clients, and then
right.
to create that like flow of how can they create retention or create more customers like that, right?
Right. And obviously, once you're 21, you could do anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
You could go to casinos, you could gamble, you could drink, you go to clubs. You have a lot more freedom. I feel like when you're 21, you're actually an adult. You're actually like seriously,
In
you're an
US
adult.
at least.
Yeah, at least here.
In Philippines, when you're, I
Like
think 16, 18, yeah, you're
in
considered an
Mexico,
adult.
you start
Yeah, oh, I
drinking
heard.
when
I
you're
heard.
like 14.
I heard.
Yeah, and obviously alcohol has a lot to do with it. I don't drink. I've been sober for I think like 2 years.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, cause I don't know. Everyone deals with alcohol differently, but I just don't think it's good for me. But I definitely think starting at the age that I did, I had so much hunger, and I feel like I had. This is probably not the best thing, but I feel like I had a lot of people to prove wrong.
Hmm. You had a
So
lot of
maybe,
doubters?
yeah, I had a lot of family that was like, oh, like that's stupid. It's just a little hobby. She's not gonna go anywhere with it. So I fell in a way that I had to prove them wrong. So that was a big reason why I was like, you have to do it. You have to do it. And also with having a baby, I was like, wow, this is a big responsibility. It
Mm-hmm.
was scary. I mean, when I was talking to my parents, I was trying to act like I wasn't scared, but I was really scared. I was like, wow, this could go so many different ways. But at least I know I have this income and I can make more.
Right. And what did that process look like when you had your what was the name of your firstborn?
Alexander.
Like Alexander. What
Mm-hmm.
did that process look like when you had Alexander the first time? Like how did that shift for you differently?
Uh, Mentally it was a lot, but I was just so busy physically that I tried to just suppress as much as I could.
Suppressed through work?
Yes. So I tried. Well, obviously,
Gotcha.
I got pregnant in 2019. I had him June of 2020. So I didn't have a baby shower. I didn't have a gender reveal because of COVID. So everything shut
Mm.
down. But everyone was getting unemployment and all the nail salons were closed. So for me,
So that was
business
good
was
for you.
booming.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Business was the best it had ever been.
Really?
Yeah, and obviously I was cautious. I was as cautious as I could be.
And you still are, I think.
Yeah. Um but obviously like mask, gloves, disinfecting,
Mm-hmm.
barbicide, all those things, of course. But I worked up until a week before my due date. So I worked regular. My pregnancy was fine. Um, a week before my due date, I stopped working and I went a week over. I took 6 weeks off, so I took a total of 8 weeks off, so 2 months, and I was back to work.
Wow.
hmm And I was back to work, and it was odd.
But how are you doing it now as far as like balancing life and business?
So at one point, I could definitely tell that I wasn't spending as much time with in my personal life. So with my son and my brothers and my sister, my nephews, my parents, and my husband. So I started feeling kind of bad. I was like,
Mm.
okay, like the money's nice, and I buy my son like shoes, toys. I take him out, but it's not enough. Like he
Right.
needs his mom. So I started taking Sundays off. We have church Sundays and we do like little activities with him. But it's hard because you have to sacrifice, and it's like, how much do I have to sacrifice? And it's kind of a dilemma because I'm like, I want to take my business to the next step.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do more than I'm doing, but I also want to spend more time with my
For
son.
sure.
So that's hard, but I just tell myself like, once he is in school, you'll be able to pick him up, drop him off, take him to practice. So it's just like, it's okay. It's just a sacrifice for right now. It'll work
Right.
out. It'll work out.
Right.
I just have to convince myself of that,
Mm-hmm.
that it'll work out, which it has been so far. So, I mean,
So you're just dealing with that as well and figuring out.
honestly, as it comes, yeah, because I'm a first time mom. So this is all new to me.
Yeah.
I mean, having him was new. The newborn stage was new. And having a toddler, I mean, that's hard. That's
No, for
so
sure.
hard. That's harder than having a newborn. So,
Especially they're running around everywhere
yeah, and
asking.
I mean, I
Now they can
obviously,
communicate their needs.
yeah, he's like, Mom, play, Mom, play. And I'm like, no, like, I'm trying to edit TikTok videos, like, stay on your iPad. And he's like, no, play cars. I'm like, oh my God. So I have to turn the phone down, put the phone down, and, go over there and play little cars with him.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's doable.
For sure.
It's doable. Like, you can have kids, you can be married, you can be an entrepreneur, you can do it, but it's hard. And there's a lot of sacrifices that come with this. So, definitely having a partner that's understanding, having family that's understanding and helpful, and just the little bit of time that you do have with your kids, just making it count.
Love that.
So, putting your phone away and just really making that time count.
Love that. Creating that boundaries for your business and as well as your family as well. Talk to us about, you mentioned there was a sacrifice involved in building your business. Did you knew this type of sacrifice before getting to business?
Um,
Were you aware of it, or was it just something that you realized that you had to come along?
that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of me knew that there would be sacrifices that would come along the way, but I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
that it would be hard choosing.
Yeah.
Just because I did see my brother, and my brother had a baby young too, same age as I did. So I saw that he was always working, but his son and at the time his girlfriend, they had everything they wanted. But I would kind of look and I'd be like, damn, but I mean, my nephew, like, I don't know, he has everything he needs, but my brother's not really that much around. Versus now, he's
He was a little
completely
busy.
different. Yeah.
Now he's there. He shifted, right?
And growing up, my parents obviously they had different roles. My dad was the one. This is when I was younger. Now it's completely different. But when I was younger, I remember one time I was really sick, and my mom was the one that would. She's the one that took me to the hospital. She's the one that took care of me, and my dad was the one that obviously he was the one paying the bills.
Mm.
So in my head, I was like, they're both taking care of me, but they're playing two different
For
roles.
sure.
My dad's more financial. My mom's more physical. So I knew eventually if I had a kid, there would be sacrifices.
Mm.
But I would always just tell myself, like, wait till the time comes. And when the time did come, that was scary. I
Yeah.
had to just pick and choose when I had to go back to work. I mean, I wasn't excited to leave my newborn, especially because they're so small and cute. But I knew that it was something I had to do.
Right.
And I mean, that was kind of like.
And this sacrifice include being less time with your family and your kid
Yes.
as well, right?
Missing family events.
Mm.
That's a big one. Um, for birthdays and stuff. Last year for my mom. Okay, this is a good example. Last year for my mom's birthday, I worked all day. I worked
Right.
all day, and dinner was supposed to be at 7. And they know to.
Okay.
Usually, most families have dinner like at 6.
Mm-hmm.
My family, they know don't start anywhere before 7
Right,
because
right.
I will not attend. So this time dinner was supposed to be I think at 7 or 8. I didn't show up to my mom's house until I think like 10.
Oh, okay. You're
And I
just
was
working.
running around after I finished work I think like at 7 or so, and after work I was running around getting her gifts.
Mm.
So when I got home, I was carrying 10 bags full of gifts.
Mm.
And I had stuffed them. I wrote her a card and I laid it out, and everyone was like, "Oh, we already ate."
Oh no.
And I was like, "Oh, well, here are your gifts." And I could tell my mom was really happy about the gifts, and she was
Mm-hmm.
very appreciative. But I could tell part of her was like, "Girl, why didn't you show up to dinner? Like, we kind of wanted you here." That to my parents at least, they take materialistics. They're not materialistic things. They've always taught me that's nice, but that doesn't define you, and that's not gonna. It's gonna fulfill you momentarily,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not gonna fulfill you long term. So yeah, like missing family events, that's a big sacrifice. Missing certain things for my son, that's a sacrifice. Missing time being a teenager because I am a teenager and I don't
Oh,
get to be a
that's
teenager.
right.
And
Yeah.
sometimes I am like, wow, you guys are at the club. Like I kind of want
Yeah.
to go, even though I'm not 21. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like,
But you want to go out and hang out
yeah,
with your
I want to go
friends, and
out.
not talk about business and actually talk about
Right.
your life and have
Yeah.
someone be your therapist this time, right?
Right. And
Okay.
it's
So
hard.
so let's pivot into that, right? What does like spending time with your family mean to you? I mean, obviously, like for me, I became so indulged in my work when I was learning to become, and I was also in school. I was always into different entrepreneurship stuff, and I was always missing stuff. And it wasn't until I realized that I didn't really care about what my family thought of me, because maybe I was so not resentful but dismissive of their thoughts, because at the time I never felt the support that I got,
Right.
right? So I was always like dismissive of whatever happened. So then when family events came, sometimes it became even, like toxic for them, because I would like belittle those events, So
Right.
so for me, it took some time for me to realize, oh shit, maybe there's more important things in life than just money and being around people that can help me grow, but also for the people for me to love. Like I assume family has been a big role, especially I've always felt that within the Latino community,
You're
right?
right. Family is everything. Family's everything. I mean, there's no point in doing what you're doing if it's not for your family. And I get it. Sometimes your family that you were born into is not supportive, but you're gonna build a family one. Well,
Mm-hmm.
most people considering
Right.
you're gonna have a family one day. So spending time with family, honestly, we have a lot. We do like game nights. We do movie nights. Sometimes I hang out with my nephews. Sometimes I hang out with my siblings. Sometimes with my parents. We try to set the table and
Hmm.
have dinner all together once in a while. But we're all really busy, so it's
For
hard
sure.
sometimes. But I'm talking about my immediate
Mm-hmm.
family. I'm not talking about extended
Right,
family
right, right,
because
right.
my extended family, I have family that lives 2 minutes away, a minute away from my mom's house, and I don't talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
I stay away because I'm like, now you want me to talk to your daughter. Now you want me to influence your daughter. But when I was doing this, you did not believe in me at all.
Ooh.
And now that I am doing good, now that I have my own office and I am making pretty good income, now you want to talk to me. But it's not to be bitter or anything. It's just I don't want anyone that wasn't there to begin with. So
Mm.
that's why for me it's family is everything. I have
Mm-hmm.
always said that family is everything. If my family asks me to do something, I'll do it, even if I have to go out of my way and I have to move my schedule around. I'll do it because at the end of the day, the time that I do spend with them, it's limited. So I want to make it count. Or if they need a favor from me, they know, my family knows. Like
For
if you
sure.
guys need a favor, not, and I'm not just talking financially. If you guys need a favor, like you guys need me to do something for you, they know that I feel like I'm everyone's speed dial. They know to
Hmm.
call me and I'll get it done, or
Love that.
I'll find someone to do it. So yeah, I think family is everything in my
Mm.
opinion, and my parents have always taught me that. Um, be close to your siblings, respect each other, take care of each other. I feel like that's always been a big thing, and I feel like that's just overall in for Latinos.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I see that really all around.
Well, for me, Asians, I know for sure, very collective community, right? But I do see in the Asian community, as they become more Americanized, to become more dispatched and away from their family. But they're still incorporating some of those beliefs. I've
Right.
always seen Latino communities do well together, and that's why I love like being in
Yeah.
Oxnard, just because I
A
have
lot
a
of
lot of
Latinos.
Latino friends. When I'm invited to parties, oh, it's game on.
Right. You're just like, what?
Yeah, I feel welcome.
Yeah, no, right. Latinos will always make you feel welcome. But I definitely think I don't know, just this generation is just interesting.
Yeah, your
Is
generation.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. There's an age difference between us.
Oh, for sure.
But I feel like the generation I was born into, it's different. Like I sometimes I hear my clients say that they don't talk to their parents. I'm like, what do you mean
Yeah,
you don't talk to your parents?
yeah.
I'm like, that's crazy, girl. Like I need to talk to my mom at least once a day. My dad, I need to talk to him. My sister, oh, I need to talk to that girl all day, every day. My brother, my two brothers, we need to be talking. And I get it. Sometimes, like you said, family can be toxic, but it's like,
I don't even think it's that, Shammy. I think a lot of it stems from the fact that, like, I'm sure you know this because you were little and you experienced it from your brother.
yeah,
I think from maybe I'm just speaking from my perspective. I'm not saying that we had it any harder, but our conflicts were more present than the generation today. I think, and I hate to say this, that the younger generation that come up are getting it easier, but it's, yeah, they can identify their problem, right? They can communicate their problems better than my generation, right? But
right,
like a lot of those, I'm not saying it's not valid. What I'm saying is that they don't have the resources pulled away from them. They actually had to look for it.
mm-hmm.
I think the younger generation, my little brother, and them, like the bigger problem for them is that they're so equipped with resources that they don't know what to do with it.
Right. And I mean, yeah, you just have to be careful how you say things because you don't want to get canceled.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot more tools, and um at least for Latinos now, a
Mhm.
lot of parents are more open-minded. I'm not sure
Yeah.
about your culture, but Latinos are a lot more open-minded. They're trying to be not so traditional. So
Really?
I definitely think like when I started doing this, my parents were a lot more accepting.
That's cool.
They understood that I wasn't going to go to college,
Mhm.
versus I think when my brother started it, my parents were a little more like, "Are you sure? Like, are you sure this is what you want to do?" I
Mhm.
mean, we're immigrants. We came from Mexico, so you could be a doctor, a
Yeah, 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 yeah,
teacher, a
yeah, yeah,
lawyer.
for sure.
So I definitely think my brother had it a lot harder. And I
Mhm.
think he's around your age. He had it definitely. He had more obstacles in front of him.
I also think our the generations above you guys didn't have as much information or access before to prove and validate what is possible out there. So in a way, it's in a good way too, because I think the younger generation are more equipped with resources to go with. They just need more support, and I think one component that's missing is grit. Like I don't think there's a lot of like and what I mean by this is that they didn't have to find things on their own without having parents to support them.
Right.
So a lot of, especially in the minority community, from my experience talking to a bunch of other people, like they had to find shit out on their own.
Yeah, I mean,
Like today you have TikTok and YouTube to be able to find resources,
Instagram.
right? And
Yeah.
that's why I really like the generation as well, is because they're way more resourceful, than my generation, where they'll ask, "What do you mean by this thing?" I'm like, "Bro, like aren't like you could just look it up." And they're my age or even older, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Dude, like, are you serious?" So it's an interesting key difference. I think it's really cool that you shared that. So I wanted to touch that and grab different perspective from people who are listening into this as well. But yeah, so speaking back into that, right? When you're building your business, how do you like? One thing I want to talk about is your client retention, right? You've obviously had enough clients that keep booking you consistently.
Right.
Like, do you feel that? How do you position or operate your business in a way so that more people are, liking your service? Like, do you have a method to that?
Just be welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
I think being welcoming, honestly, the way that I've gotten most of my clients is word of mouth. I've always said if your work is good, it'll show.
Mm-hmm.
It'll show. But I mean, back then, a lot of my clients that I have now, I've had them for a while, but back then the way that I built a lot of my clientele and kept them was just posting a lot.
Gotcha.
And I think after I had my son, I kind of stopped just because well, I could have still done it, but honestly, it's just an excuse. But I kind of steered away from social media and I kind of just focused on my actual clients.
Mm-hmm.
But I think promoting yourself on social media, that's a big, big help. That's how I got a lot of my clients. But I think the way that I keep them is that I build a relationship with them. So I have
Mm-hmm.
a connection. So let's say one of my clients comes in, I'm like, hey, so how was your, I remember last time you were telling me about like your job interview or this and that, your trip, how did it go? And they're like, oh my God, okay, so I was waiting to tell you. And
Right,
they're
right,
like, it
right.
went like this and that. And I'm like, okay, so what design are we going to do? They're like, oh my God, I forgot you were doing my nails. Okay, so this is what I thought for this set. So I think that's why. And I think just being yourself, um, people can tell if you're being like fake or you're being
Mm.
weird.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think just being yourself and being genuine, because for me the biggest thing for doing nails is I want someone to walk out happy with their nails. So I mean I'm genuine about that. I always ask them, do you like the shape? Do you like the color? Do you like the length? Do you like the everything?
Mm-hmm.
And I think they appreciate that. And also as clients, I ask like a million questions. Like, are you sure you like this? Do you like this color?
Gotcha.
I'm very thorough, so I think them feeling like their opinions matter.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big thing. Yeah, I think that's mostly it. I don't know, if you were to ask my clients, they'd be like, oh, she's funny. I'm like, oh, okay.
No, I feel like there's more method than that, especially for someone who is in branding. Like, one of the biggest thing that we talk about is that your experience, how you leave people feeling, is what
Right,
creates
right.
those
Yeah, there you go.
consistencies.
Hmm.
What gets people to talk about you? Oh my gosh, girl, who did your thing? One of the things that I like that you mentioned is that they're excited to tell you
Yeah.
about their story, because you created that quote unquote bestie experience. I would even say, right?
Yes.
Let's just name it that. And what I like about that, and even though you don't do it, it's not like a strategy or anything. It's just that how you are, right? For me, the way I see it as a marketer is that it creates this experience that, hey, you know what? I want to talk to them about my life.
Right, what's going
Like
on.
I have something exciting, because like, other people won't appreciate as much as you. And going back into what you mentioned is that it feels like they have a say to this thing. And when we talk about when I work with clients, or when I hear certain clients or hear other businesses ask me about my opinions, one of the things that I noticed with a successful business and what's not is their ability to create that client relationship where now it feels more personal,
Right.
it
Hmm.
feels more extensive, and it's not just a transactional thing, that we're actually playing this in a bigger game, and we're kind of in it together.
Right. I think that's probably one of the biggest things you could do as a business owner is just establishing a a relationship and making your clients feel like they matter. Like they're
For
not
sure.
just you're not just there to collect a couple of bucks and that's it. You actually make them feel like you care about them. I've had clients who invite me to their weddings,
Right.
to their kids' first
Love that,
birthdays.
right?
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, like that's so cute. They consider me like family.
Mm-hmm.
My best friend, I met her because I started doing her nails. I think back in 2019, and now she's my best friend. So
Nice.
I'm just like, yeah, it's crazy. And a lot of my clients, I mean, they understand. I think they can what would be the word? They can see myself. They can see themselves in me because I am young, and I mean, some of my clients are a little bit older, but a lot of them are around my age group.
Mm-hmm.
So they can, I mean, they're like 20, from 20 to I would say maybe like 25. So they're like, okay, she's not like this 40-year-old woman that I'm going to go get my nails done with. And she's not so judgy. I mean, I'm open minded. You could tell
Mm-hmm.
me whatever you want.
Right.
I might think in my head, like, wow, like, that's kind of crazy. But I'll tell you, like, okay, I could understand why you did
You
that. Or,
empathize. You're an
okay,
empath.
yeah, right. Okay, I could understand
Yeah.
why you did that. Or also, I'm motivating. I'm like,
Oh,
I've
okay.
had a lot of my clients that they're nail techs now or they're lash techs, and
Ah.
I tell them like, girl, if I could do it, you could do it
Mm.
too. You could do it too. And I try telling them like, there's people that are less qualified than you trying to do what you
Ooh.
want to do. So why don't you just do it?
Facts.
Just jump off. It's scary.
Facts.
It's scary jumping off,
I love
but
that.
just do it. Just do it. There's
I
people
love
that
that.
are a lot less qualified.
And I love that you're actually, encouraging them to be their own freaking bosses.
Yeah, cause
You
I'm
know,
like,
because
girl,
you understand that there's more customers out there in the game.
right. And I think especially in Oxnard, you did mention that it's a city full of hustlers, and that's very true. But a lot of people think, oh, there's competition. Like,
Oh, some people can be like that. I think they
yeah,
don't last long because they're thinking about what they can keep instead of what they can obtain. Like,
right. And I always think, like, there's barbershops in every corner, there's nail salons in every corner, there's enough clients for everybody. Not everyone will be your client, and that is okay. You want to keep the clients that are fit to you. You want to keep those clients
yes,
and work on those.
yes.
Because there are times where I've had to um, turn away clients in a
I've
nice way, not in a mean
mm-hmm.
way, in a nice way.
Oh, you're so
But
nice.
not every client, not all money is good money, and I had to learn that. I think my first bad experience with a client, I think I was
Mm.
16, and I had to be like, wow, like, yeah, this client is not for me, and I just never booked her again, and that was it.
Yeah, I think for us in the service industry, we realize that in business, not all money is good for business as well. Because like it's also your side of it as well. Like, how do you want to create your life? Do you want clients that is treating you a certain way? I know for sure I have a system and process that I work with clients, and then if they don't meet this thing or if they don't have these criterias for me, it's like I'd rather recommend them to somebody else.
Right, and I mean, that's okay. And sometimes some clients they fade in and they fade
Mm-hmm.
out. But yeah, don't ever be scared to reject someone or turn them away. That's fine. If you feel like they're not a match for you, that's okay. There's like a million other clients, and they're not gonna lose sleep over it. They're just gonna go to somebody else.
Yeah, I also like the idea of coming in abundance that if I say no to somebody, I'm actually pushing them to get forward to the next person. And it's something
Right.
I learned in sales, right? That every time I ask somebody and I get a no, it's actually pivoting me towards a person that can say yes. Because it's one less person to say no to.
Right. And I mean, you're gonna have to get a
Hmm.
yes one day or
For
another.
sure,
So it's
exactly.
gonna happen.
Right, I
It's
love
gonna
that.
happen.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts on this, Shammy. Okay, so let's pivot back. Let's pivot now into now and what's going on for you in the future, right? So as far as this end, what are some of the things that you're excited of, you're looking forward to as a business owner and for yourself as well?
I think I want to rebrand a little bit.
Okay,
So my office is under construction. I'm
love the pink.
remodeling it. Right, it's pink right now, and I want to get more into social media. And actually, I have a client who I remember we had this conversation actually, and I was like,
Tell me.
yeah, he's right. That day that I came, I was like, yeah, he's right. Maybe I should get into social media, and I kept it like in the back of my head, but I didn't really think too much about it. But I have a client. Her name's Nia Nini, and She started YouTube, and her YouTube grew like super quick.
Wow.
So, and she always tells me like,
What does she do?
Shammy, she's a YouTuber, so she does like blogging,
Oh,
maintenance
nice. Love
videos,
it.
just like girly things. And she always tells me like, Shammy, like, come on, you could get paid for this. Like, start doing your TikTok, start doing your reels, like, start posting, like, you got this. And she is like, she's such an amazing friend. She's the one that really kind of motivated me to be like, okay, you can do this. Like, it's going to be a little complicated at first because you steered away from it, but you could get the numbers up. You could start posting again. You could start doing your TikTok again. This is doable. Like, you could start
Mm-hmm.
doing it. So I think definitely just posting and being present on social media a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And I, for a moment, I thought you already have all these clients. Like, you don't need to be on social media. And I mean, although that is correct, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt, and it could be a stream of income. You could build different relationships with other brands. For example, like I started working with Booksy. I got a couple of awards through them. There's a couple other brands that I want to work with.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I think that just building what's already there for sure. And I want to start doing courses online and in person. So I want to start. I definitely want to teach girls how to become bosses.
Mm.
And I mean, it doesn't hurt. I mean, it doesn't hurt to
Love
just
that.
learn a new something. It doesn't hurt learning something new. And although you might not do it full time, or you could do it full time, and you could surpass me and be better than me,
Bet.
or you could just do it for your family, for your
For
friends.
sure.
But at least I want to instill that mindset of you got this, like you could do it. That hustler mindset, I guess, because
Mm-hmm.
not everyone's born with it.
Right. No, for
Some
sure.
people have to
It's taught. It has to be.
create it.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you have to go through the turmoils and the experience to do that.
yeah,
Okay, cool. So I kind of I see a little bit of the direction you kind of go from this end. Now with the social media for sure. I think if you start to, put yourself out more, the
yeah.
chamois, like you'll be able to develop that. But as far as opportunities, I think for you, like, hey, what if, you can diversify your sources of income, right? What if now they know Shammy, the nail tech business owner, but hey, because we know you, you can do other stuff as well, right? And then that personal branding alone would allow you to create different opportunities for yourself. I think, so that's just I think at the
No, of
direction. I
course,
think with
yeah.
yours, you have a powerful voice in the background, and I think if more, I mean, I'm sure women, but not just women, people out
Anyone.
there, they hear your story and they get motivated about how you came up. I think it would just create more not attention, but like, people to look up to you, and they
Right.
just know you as Shammy who did this and who did that, not just a nail tech,
Yeah,
right?
right. Right. I mean, there's a couple other things I want to do. Obviously, those are like short-term goals,
Mm-hmm.
but long-term, like I want to open up a nail salon. Eventually, I want to open up like a beauty school. There's a couple things,
Mm-hmm.
but long-term, I want to be a stay-at-home mom.
Mm.
That's the goal. I want to have money
Gotcha.
coming in, and I want to raise my son. That's
Well, at home.
which is crazy because if you think
Doable.
about it, I'm doing all this, and that's really my end goal. Is just to be a stay-at-home mom. That's it.
Love that.
Just to be a stay-at-home mom
Love
and be
that.
comfortable. That's it. I want to obviously be able to retire my parents. I want to not cater to my siblings' dreams and my nephews, but I want to um, support them. Obviously financially,
Mm-hmm.
like in order to make money, you gotta waste money.
For sure.
So I want to just be able to help the people that I love, and yeah. But long term, I definitely just want to have passive income because
Nice.
I don't want to work forever. I mean, who wants to work forever? No one wants to work forever. I want to work, but I don't want to work till I'm like 80, 70. I want to
Right,
go on
right, right, right.
vacations. I want to
Right.
enjoy my son. I want to
Mm-hmm.
enjoy my marriage. I want to enjoy my family. But yeah, definitely, because I don't want to just be known as the nail tech.
For sure.
Yeah, I want to be known as Shammy the boss.
Mm.
Shammy the girl that gets everything done,
Right,
the
right,
one that
right.
has, the 20-year, well, I'm about to be 20, the 20-year-old that has this, and that, or whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally doable, and we'll talk more about that too as we progress. I'm not now you're in connection, so
Yeah.
as far as this end. Okay, so for anybody tuning in, is there something else that people can look forward to in the next couple of months or years that you're building that you're excited about?
I think definitely, obviously, people in Oxnard, I would say the in-person classes.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be a nail tech, I
Mm-hmm.
can show you, not just show you, but I can mentor you through it because it's
Love that.
hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. But I mean, for anyone just anywhere else, the online courses, which I'm working on, which it is kind of complicated. Actually, I thought it would be really easy, just like type up what I know, da da da. But it's a lot harder getting the point across
Mm-hmm.
through a paper
Oh,
versus
for
in
sure.
person.
Yeah.
Because in person, I could really tell you and I could show you, but and I could get to know you on a personal level. But online, it's a little harder to tell you like you got this, you can do it. But that's definitely those are I think the top two things that I'm excited about
Nice.
because I mean I love my clients and that's something I want to continue with, but I
Right.
also want to build on
Build
top
something
of
for
that. Yeah,
yourself
I
in the
don't
long
just
run
want to
as well.
stay in. I don't want to stay stuck in the same spot.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, although it's not a bad spot, I don't just want to
You always
stay
want to be
there.
progressing.
Right. Yes. 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 I don't want to continue being the same, doing the same exact thing for multiple years.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. Well, we're looking forward to seeing how that progresses for you as well. Um, now, as far as anybody who wants to reach out to you, whether they want to book or just connect with you, how can they best find you?
Well, probably Instagram, Nails by Shammy, TikTok. I recently just got on there.
Mm-hmm.
Nails by Shammy too, and then I have a booking website, Booksy. They're amazing, and Nails by Shammy. Everything's Nails by
Okay.
Shammy. Yeah, to make an appointment, you just go on Booksy. It just asks you general information like first, last name, email, phone number, and you could just you could find me with Nails by Shammy, and I have a little thing where I've won 4 awards, so that's fun.
Nice. There you go. Shout out
But
to
yeah,
that.
that's the best way to reach me and to look at my work. You just go on TikTok. I have like 5 videos of which we're working on that.
I'm working on that.
But on Instagram, obviously, you could see my work since I think like it's been a long time. You
Love
could
that.
go all the way down and you could actually see the progress.
Yeah, no, for sure. I bet. I mean,
Yeah.
even for me, I kept all my past stuff so that I can. For me, it's a documentation.
Yeah, and at one point I wanted to delete everything. And
Don't.
my my
Please don't.
brother, yeah, he was like, "No, don't." And I'm like, "That's embarrassing. Like these are so ugly." And he's like,
No,
"No,
trust
just
me.
keep it."
It's not even for you, but it's for like the people that's like gonna look at you down there. It's
And
like,
be
oh,
like,
this is where you started.
"She actually did it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, because for me on my TikTok, I'm actually documenting the 365 days of me quitting
A
my
full
job.
year?
Yeah, a full year. So if you see me in there, you'll probably like, oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I've
So.
seen a couple.
Oh, yeah, okay, cool,
yeah, I've
perfect.
seen a couple.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So for anybody listening, who maybe wants to get into business, or maybe one last word of message that you want to voice out, what would that be?
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do
Like
it.
Nike.
Just do it. Get it. Yeah. Just do it. Get it done. Mentors are very important. Surrounding yourself with the right people, that's very important. And I have it tattooed right here. TMC.
Mhm.
The
Oh, okay, the
marathon. I
marathon.
think you've seen it
Okay.
once before. The marathon continues. Um I got it tattooed because the marathon does continue. Life
Mhm.
continues.
It's a
You're
marathon.
not success is not overnight, so just keep at it. Keep doing it. You'll eventually, like you said, you'll eventually get a yes. You'll eventually get a win. Even if you get 20 losses, you'll eventually get a win. So yeah, I would say just do it. What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
What do you have to lose?
And I like that quote the most too. I resonate. I started fucking with Nipsey the past years. Fortunately, after he passed away, R.I.P. But it's the fact that it's a marathon, not a sprint. Where
Right.
You keep going to go after it,
Even when it gets, well, especially when it gets hard.
especially when it gets hard. 'Cause
When
that's
you're-
when you get tested and
Yeah.
when you transcend even.
Right. And that it just builds character. But I think if you
Character.
do want to start your business, just do it. I mean, what's the difference if you started now versus in 5 years? You're just gonna lose 5 years.
Yeah.
Just do it. Who
I
cares?
agree.
And who cares what anyone thinks?
Exactly.
They're not gonna be the ones
Paying
funding
your
it or
bills.
going through it. Yeah, just do it. Who cares?
Absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you for being on the podcast,
Thank you
Shammy.
for having me.
Of course. Hopefully, everybody else enjoyed the episode as much as I did listening to her. Yeah. And then for anybody tuning in, we'll see you guys on the next episode.